Digital spaces get so easily cluttered. I would actually argue that they get even more cluttered than our physical spaces a lot of the time. I'm already seeing a content shift there. People are getting really creative with how they tell stories on that app. Okay, with that in mind, let's move on to monthly goals. Listen, I know 2024 has been off to a rough start this year, but I am committed to making 2024 my best year ever. This video is very casual part 2 to my other video, how I'm making every goal a reality in 2024. If you want to check that out, it's a really good watch. I poured a ton of time into it, and I think you guys are gonna really find some value in it. With that all in mind, this is gonna be that video's chill older sister. My hope is to do one of these for every single month of the year. I don't know if that's gonna be feasible, but with that all in mind, I want to show you the biggest change that I'm making in 2024, which is switching to a physical planner. At the beginning of 2023, I started a digital planner in Notion, and while it's a great tool, don't get me wrong, I still use it to keep track of longer term tasks, and we'll get into that in a second. There was something about a physical planner and physical media that I was missing so much in my life. Quite literally, I hit this point in 2023 where every single thing I engaged with on a daily basis was digital. I would go from one computer to the next computer to the next computer to the camera screen to the phone and then the Kindle and go to bed. And that was my day. It was just screen. And to make things worse, I was constantly listening to podcasts, background audio, whatever you might call it. Now, I will say, I think I learned a lot last year, and a lot of that is through that passive absorption, but I don't think it was worth the trade-off of the overall calmness and quiet that I had in my brain throughout certain points of last year. So the planner I'm trying out, this is supposed to last me through half of this year, is called the Anecdote Daily Planner. I got it in the color Nutmeg, and I gotta say, I think it's really beautiful. Orange has just been one of those colors that I'm really drawn to lately. That and like this dark green, kind of like what I'm wearing right now. I'm just very pulled to it right now. So my biggest thing with finding a physical planner was having something that was gonna integrate with my digital life well, wasn't too prescriptive, because again, I didn't want it to feel like a chore. I wanted it to be more of something that I could adapt and learn from and make work for my life throughout the year. And I really think this planner does a great job striking the difference between those things. So at the very beginning of the planner, we have this nice monthly spread. I color coordinate how I highlight different things. So I have birthdays in gray, I have development or career boosting things in green, social/friend events in orange, and then my work stuff in pink. Just taking a look at January, some of the big things this month are one of my friend's bridal showers, my brother's birthday, my EA anniversary, so my 3 years working at my job, and then one of my friend's weddings at the very end of the month. So there's a lot going on in January. I went ahead and filled out February as well, even though that's even busier of a month, and I know for a fact there's gonna be other stuff to add in, but this is a general gist of what the weekly plans look like. So at the very beginning of the week, there are priorities and to-do list items. I use the priorities section as kind of a notes throughout the week, so I fill in whatever's on my mind, projects, big ideas, just to get an indicator of where my attention is going to. And then I use the to-do section as a brain dump at the beginning of the week. So if there's even stuff like habits I want to be reminded of, those all go in the beginning of the month. And then every single day gets a beautiful spread like this, where it has a schedule, a to-do list, priorities. It's just structured enough, in my opinion, that I can see what I have coming up throughout the week. I can fill out the dates on my own. If I skip something, it's easy enough for me to just go and backfill what I did that day. And then the big thing I'm doing at the end of the week is filling out this blank page with a proper weekly reset. Now, the first thing to go whenever I get stressed or overwhelmed is my journaling routine, and I have unfortunately learned that throughout 2023. I am not good at reflecting if I have it in a separate notebook, or I have to go out of my way. The way this planner is set up quite literally forces me to reflect. Like, I cannot go on to the next week until there's something on that page. And even at the end of last week, going through and processing what happened during the first week of January was such a unique experience, and I really am curious to see what mental shifts happen if I continue that habit. So that's definitely something we're gonna check back in on in February when it comes time to going through these weekly resets, figuring out where we want to realign to, and building our path from there. Because let me tell you guys, February, busy month. January, a little busy, not terrible. So of course, if you're a content creator and you work 9 to 5 and you do, goodness, anything else outside of those things, where do you keep track of your long-term projects? Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm keeping those in Notion. So I have this beautiful projects database. I try to keep it as lean as possible so that I can kind of customize it, make it work for whatever projects I have going on in my life. And then I have this ongoing task list in another app called TickTick. So yes, that is 2 different apps for planning. I realize that sounds inefficient. It's just what's working for my brain. If you are experimenting with apps and you're feeling like, I don't know which one sticks, or this one is sticking for this, but it's not sticking for that. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. You're probably not. You just really need to let your brain do what it can do best. Because here's the thing, if you're not forgetting stuff and you're not feeling overwhelmed by the stuff that is working, chances are it's already good for your brain and you might as well just continue doing it because I don't see why not. On the topic of planning and getting ready for a new month, if you're a content creator, I highly encourage you guys to have a content calendar. This is something that I am learning how to do again. I had one in college. I think I did a pretty good job with it, but it's just something that I really fell off from. And the problem I really ran into was that I would schedule the posts out, but if I missed one thing or I needed an extra day to work on something just to like get it done, it would back up literally everything else that I had planned. I felt like the worst content creator ever just because I couldn't get it done. I don't think anybody should have to feel that way, especially if you are just trying to make content that you're passionate about and document life and give simple advice, kind of like I aspire to do with this channel. So do yourself a favor, at least content plan out for a week, because worst case, if you miss posts in that week, you can just push that to the next week. You don't have to reschedule an entire month or an entire quarter like I see some people doing. And again, I think this is something that I'm gonna check back in on, and at the end of this quarter, just figure out what is working for me and what isn't. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to digital planning. I am gonna grab my glasses for this because I can't see diddly square. Okay, so the first thing I really recommend doing is review your Notion pages or your Apple Notes or wherever you just drop random thoughts. If that's a physical journal for you, you can just take that out and kind of go through this with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through my Notion pages and I'm going to delete pages I didn't use first of all. Number two is pages that I spend too much time on. But as a planner fanatic, I can very easily go the opposite direction where I spend way too much time over curating or over personalizing a page. If that's the case, I will set a timer for quite literally 5 minutes. Like, I do not give myself enough time. I will tweak whatever's bugging me on the page and then I will leave it as is. Because truth of the matter is, unless there's something that you can deliberately fix about the page or about how that tool functions in your life, you really shouldn't be tweaking with it. And this is just a common project management rule, that if you get too hung up on just adding tools for the sake of it and you don't think about the use case, you just kind of run yourself into the ground. And it's like, why did you even do that? I don't know. What do we do there? I don't know. Another thing too, if you can, archive stuff that you don't want to throw away. The biggest thing that keeps me from digitally decluttering is that weird little bug in my head that's like, what if I need this? What if I'm gonna use this again? What you're gonna do if you struggle with this is you are going to make a folder with today's date on it. So what is it? Today's January 8th that I'm filming this? Yeah. So I'd say January 8th, 2024, archive, and I'm just going to dump everything that is in the cluttered folder, archive it, drag everything into the folder, and start with a clear slate. I try to do this at least once a month, and it's just created so much peace of mind. Plus, a lot of the time, I'll go back in the archive folder, and for some reason, this is like a psychological thing, if I go back into the downloads folder, I am way more likely to delete stuff because I just realize how much clutter I have digitally. Another thing too is I try to favorite the pages that I use the most and turn them into little shortcuts on my phone. So like, even on my iPad, I have stuff like my agenda bookmarked, my content ideas list. I do my habit tracking in another app called TickTick, same one that I use for my task list, but I have a widget for that as well. So the truth of the matter is, do what works for you, but don't over-engineer it. And then the last thing I do as part of my digital declutter is I go through and delete the pictures on my phone that I'm not gonna need anymore. That can be screenshots, confirmations, memes, random gifs I downloaded to send to someone. What I'll do though is I would filter to the month and the year that just completed. So for example, last month was December 2023. So what you can do is you can type December 2023 into the search bar on your phone and it'll just filter to the photos and videos that you took last month. Digital spaces get so easily cluttered. I would actually argue that they get even more cluttered than our physical spaces a lot of the time, because if you think about it, especially if you work from home or you run some part of your business online, it just gets really overwhelming. So that's my recommendation to y'all. Okay, with that in mind, let's move on to monthly goals. Every month I try to focus on 1 to 2 things in every single life area. I go into monthly goals realizing that I might not achieve every single one. Does that sting my heart? Yes, but that's what 2024 is for. We are here to change our habits. We are here to practice and grow. So let's start off with my first physical health goal of 2024. My biggest goal is to go on a walk 6 times a week. I realize this might sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, in the summer, I go on the longest walks, y'all. Like, I will go for 4-5 miles easily, and something about it is so fun. I just completely fell off my schedule schedule in December. I think I even mentioned this in my last video, but I felt like a clown. I genuinely felt so lazy and so bad about myself that we need to work on that this month. But I really want to sign up for ClassPass. I have a friend who did it. She told me great things about it, and I think it would be a great way to just go out, experiment, kind of see what workouts resonate with me, because my dream would be to find a third space, especially somewhere that there's other 20-somethings where I can actually make some friends. We can like work out, motivate each other. I think that would be so fun, because again, I feel pretty good with my physical health, but I definitely see that there's room for improvement, and I just sit a lot. That's just the truth of the matter. It's not even that I'm unhealthy, I just sit a lot, and I don't want that part of my life to become something that I'm worried about, or I feel like I'm constantly chasing to get ahead of my health. I really want to preserve what I have now. The second section is mental health. The big thing I'm trying this month are daily reflections. Now, I know this is a little contradictory because before I said, if I have my notes in another app, I won't keep up with them. But this month, I'm trying out something called Stoic app. I've used it loosely in the past, like here and there, but this month, I'm really committing to it. And again, here's the thing about journaling. It does not have to be an intense process. I mentor a couple of marketing students right now, and something I always tell them when they ask me about journaling or goal setting or any of these things is that your journaling for the day can literally be bullet points. You can just recap what you did that day and what each event made you feel, and that's perfectly enough. So I'm keeping it really simple, and I think this is going to help me build this habit back up so that by the time we do these check-ins in March, April, whatever, it's not even gonna have to be something that I write down as a goal, but it's just gonna be part of my everyday life. For family, I actually already achieved my goal, so I might have to set another one, but I wanna plan a sibling day. I have a younger brother, we're both really into books, so we did a little book shopping day a couple days ago, and it was really fun. And the same thing goes, I hope the weather's gonna be good this month because I really want to go out and do more stuff with my dog and with my whole family, so I will keep you guys updated on that one. It's not a very strict goal, but it's more of just it's just more of something delightful to look forward to. In the friends category, one of my biggest goals is to plan a FaceTime night with one of my friends. I had one of these at the very end of 2023, and it felt so good. My friend and I got on a FaceTime call for like 2 hours and just worked on our vision boards and talked about our goals and gossiped, and it was just a really good time. So that's something I really want to continue doing in this month. Within my career, there's two things I'm kind of thinking about now. The first of which is I want to take some time and reflect on my goals because it's not been the strongest area, and I think that I'd have a lot more clarity, a lot more calmness about where my career is going. And the second one is I would love to refresh some of my marketing certifications. I used some of the winter break to work on my LinkedIn. I know, like, did I have to do that? No, but I did. And I noticed that a lot of my marketing certifications were either close to expiring or already just spoiled milk expired. So we need to take care of that. For content, I have a couple of things. The first one is I want to stream twice a week. If you guys don't know, I also stream on Twitch. It's something that I really have fun with. I started playing Baldur's Gate recently and just it's such a good game. So my goal is to continue streaming that game and kind of not cut out my leisurely video game time, but I really want to spend more of it on stream because I think I learn a lot about communication. I obviously get to connect with people. I actually have made some streamer friends recently. It's just cool. It's like this fun little bubble of its own. I also really want to try community posts on YouTube. I've seen a lot of people using it. I feel like the community post tab has sort of become like this Twitter 2.0. So I think I want to give it a shot. Obviously not the same concept, but like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below what I should do with that feature. Bringing it down to finances. I am really big on tracking savings. I think living at home and just not having terribly many bills right now, and again, that is a huge place of gratitude, let me just say. My goal by the end of this month is to save 60% of my income and try to start allocating that off into a travel budget. I really want to see more of the US. I want to go to more events. I want to engage in social things that I don't have to like budget intensely for. And then the last category is education. I really want to focus on things like personal productivity, UGC, which is user-generated content. It's like making ads as a content creator and selling them. It's really cool. And then the third thing I want to work on is just overall storytelling. I feel like storytelling is going to change a lot, especially on TikTok. I'm already seeing a content shift there. People are getting really creative with how they tell stories on that app, and not just necessarily learn new scholarly ways to do it, but just experiment and try new things and be okay with being a little cringe, because I know a lot of my storytelling content is not going to be great off the bat, but just practicing using my own voice. Like, this video in itself has been kind of a challenge for me to film, but in a good way, because I feel like I'm just talking like how I would if I were on FaceTime or on the phone or in a work meeting. This is just very natural to me, but I just want to work on that skill set a lot this month. All right, I don't know what to call this section of the video yet. I think we'll call it like media moments, media mumblings, whatever you want to call it. But I want to talk about my recommendations, things I'm reading, things I'm listening to in sort of this lightning round kind of way. So let's get into it. Number 1, books I am reading this month. Now listen, I'm gonna set the context that I am not a book talk girly. I'm just not. I have found good reads on there, but I read exclusively nonfiction for like the last 3 years and it really burned me out. I need to love reading again. When I tell you guys I was an avid reader and writer as a kid, I feel like it's this huge part of my personality that I 100% threw away when I hit college, and then I got swept up with work and I just never made the space for it again. So this is the year that we change that, and boy, it is already changing because I am reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. You probably know this book if you're on Book Talk. About 100 pages in. Ooh, that bookmark's heavy. About 100 pages in right now, so I will keep you guys posted next month. If I like it, I will stick with the whole series, but I know it's gonna take me a while and I wanna make sure that I have time for the other books on my list. I know I was roasting nonfiction for a second, but there is one book that I've been getting a lot of value from lately, and it's this book called The 4-Hour Workweek. It's by Tim Ferriss, which by the way, he has great YouTube videos and blogs and things like that. Check out some of his stuff. I literally get emotional watching some of his videos, so they're definitely good. And even though this is a bit of an older book when it comes to the self-help genre, he basically talks about how to travel and work, how to navigate unpredictable economic times, and essentially just how to build a life that you love that is also affordable. So very, very much looking forward to reading this. I think it's very aligned with the things that have been giving me anxiety lately, so we're gonna pick this up in January, and hopefully I will be done with my reread by the end of the month. I'm a bit of a slow reader, so the rest of these books are really just if I get around to them, if I have the time. I have a lot of other things that I do, so unfortunately I don't have the ability to prioritize reading right now. There are 3 other books on my list, the first of which is also a nonfiction, but it's The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I tried doing the audiobook, it was just not working for me. It felt too, I don't know, it was giving me weird vibes. So we're gonna read the physical one instead. I feel like I read this book, but I cannot remember a thing about it. So I picked up a copy when I went to Barnes & Noble recently. It's The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. And then the last book is Song of Achilles. This one I just feel like is such a classic, and everybody talks about this book. Everyone I talk to has some emotional connection to this book, but it's beautifully bound. I love books that are visually appealing too. It just makes me want to like pick them up and appreciate them. So if I have time in January, I will read this, but if not, we'll push it to the February TBR list. Moving on to video games, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. I think that game is a delight. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a very weird vibe because at the same time, it calms me down and I feel like exploring this beautiful world is so fun, but then you'll just be thrown into this action moment where it's like high intensity and you want to say the right thing and you really want to make sure you get things done right, but it's very cool. I am someone who's not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons as much as I'd like to be, so this has been sort of my crash course getting into D&D lore, if you will. For movies and TV show, I will say it's a little bit of a slower month. It's a very Marvel heavy month, which is great news for me because I love Marvel. What If Season 2 was a great watch. If you guys are Marvel fans, highly recommend checking it out. I think it's still one of the best shows in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Don't come at me, it's just my opinion, and I think a lot of y'all will agree. And then Echo, which actually comes out tomorrow, I believe. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. I've heard that it's more of a show for non-Marvel fans that are like getting into Marvel. So I don't really know what to do with that information, but we will see. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, and I really like the main character. So hopefully it'll be a double thumbs up by the end of next month. And that wraps up my January Reset With Me video. I strongly think that 2024 is just gonna be our best year yet. I know it was off to a rough start for some of us, but I really think this is gonna be our year, y'all. Like, if we stay on top of our habits and our goals and we make the dang thing happen without leaning into hustle culture too much, I think we can make this year beyond incredible, okay? In the meantime, I'm gonna drink out of my definitely not Stanley cup, and I'll see you guys in the February Reset. Thanks for subscribing if you did, and I'll see your beautiful faces in the next one. Bye-bye. See ya. Or handsome faces, you know. Bye-bye.